All right. Hey, everybody. We are back. Today is the day 11 of the 12 Days of OpenAI and Shipmas and our double duty doing watch parties. So with me, I have Jyunmi and I am Beth. And again, we are co-hosts of the Daily AI Show. And we'll see what other co-hosts show up. And I am going to share my screen just to make sure that there is audio because we have trauma. So we're just going to make sure that this happens. Share tab audio. Yes.
If you want to see a technical disaster, go ahead and look at day 8, day 9. It was pretty bad.
Improvisational comedy at its best. Okay. Whoops. There you go. Can you hear the audio, Jyunmi?
Yes. Yes, I can. All right. Perfect.
Awesome. And
All right. So
Karl is joining us.
Oh, sweet. Hey, Karl.
Hello.
You got your original location back.
Hey, no.
What?
You're really low.
Oh, really low? Really?
But now,
Oh, no, now you're fine.
Now it's better. Okay.
Yeah.
What were you asking?
Because you do the side talking. You talk like this instead.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Yeah, you don't have to be right up on it. You were just looking away.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. So we're gonna get tasks
Eric's
today, right?
Hi, Eric.
Okay.
Sorry, Beth. What was that?
Operator tasks.
I'm looking up who John Nastos and Justin Rushing are. Then we'll know.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I don't recognize those names. So, Eric, DALL-E 4, right? Oh,
Karl gasped.
Okay, John Nastos, musician, programmer, educator. Hold on a second. But that doesn't mean anything, right?
Yeah, so, he could just be a musician.
This is just me. I'm a musician, programmer, educator.
Who is Justin Rushing?
Because OpenAI does not need to also do music.
He's really busy.
Like,
no, he just technical staff. So we don't know. This one is we don't know.
Okay, so here's the easier parameters. Stocking stuffer, major release.
I'm guessing stocking stuffer.
Right. I think they have to do two big things.
Think so?
Although it may not be something that that we have immediate access to, right? So it may be like a big thing, but that's just announced, but we don't really get it.
Are we talking about?
Hey, Eric.
So tomorrow, we're all assuming 4.5.
Yeah,
or something equivalent.
Because after all of this,
operator would be equivalent to 4.5.
I would think they would do 4.5 and then operator, but maybe not.
Yeah. After all of this, you can't just give me a DALL-E. Sorry.
Like, yeah, you can't. Yeah,
you can't end on DALL-E.
Well, see, here's the thing. I'm never going to underestimate a very large company.
Oh, God.
And I am definitely outclassed by the two gentlemen on my right, who I'm told did not just get these suits 48 hours ago on Amazon.
Definitely own this already. 100%. Yeah.
All right. So you might have noticed we've been putting a lot of effort into our desktop apps. So we launched our Mac desktop app about 6 months ago. We launched our Windows desktop app just a couple months ago. And as our models get increasingly powerful, ChatGPT will more and more become agentic. And that means we'll go beyond just questions and answers. ChatGPT will begin doing things for you. We're seeing that already with products like Canvas, where you're collaborating with ChatGPT to help improve your writing and your code. And that shift will continue. ChatGPT will do more and more on your behalf. The desktop apps are a big part of that too, because being a desktop app, you can do so much more than you can just in a browser tab. That includes things like, with your permission, of course, being able to see what's on your screen and being able to automate a lot of the work that you're doing on your desktop. So we'll have a lot more to say on that as we go into 2025, but we've also got some exciting stuff that we're launching today. So let's dive in.
All right. Hi, I'm John Nastos, and I work on the ChatGPT desktop team. My name is Justin Rushing, and I also work on the ChatGPT desktop team. We've got a lot to show you today, so I'm just going to go ahead and get started here. So first things first, this right here is the fully native ChatGPT desktop app for Mac. It does all the things that we've come to expect from our clients. But what I really love about it is that being native, it's really lightweight. It doesn't use a lot of resources. It lives in its own window, and I'm able to use it without having to context switch away from what I'm already doing, right? So we've got this keyboard shortcut, Option Space, that makes it really fast to show and hide ChatGPT. So it's always there when you need it. This button right here is our entry point for working with apps on your computer. And the way that I like to think about this feature is that we all copy and paste things into ChatGPT, right?
All the time.
All the time.
All the time.
This feature makes that way smoother by when we are working with an app on your computer, we'll automatically pull that context in for you. So you just focus on asking your question, and we'll handle the rest. So you might notice that I've also got this Warp console window open as well. It's currently navigated to a repository that I'm getting up to speed on. And it might seem kind of silly, but I want to figure out how many commits per day are happening in this repo. We talk about velocity a lot here, so I want to see that for myself. I have no idea how to do that, though. So I'm going to use ChatGPT. So when I click on this button, I'm going to see all of the apps that are currently running on my computer that ChatGPT can work with. Important note, until you select one of these, we will never look at the contents of another app. So you are always fully in control over what you're sharing with ChatGPT. So to get started, I'm going to click on Warp. And at this time, huge shout out to the Warp team for all of their help in getting this going. When we first announced working with apps, we did not have support for Warp. And it was, I think, literally the first request was adding support.
Yeah.
So huge shout out to the team. They worked really hard to help us get it ready for today. So thank you. So I'm going to get started by saying, write a command to get the number of commits per day over the past 2 months. And now I don't need to tell ChatGPT that I use Git, because it can tell from Warp that I do. And it's just going to give me the command that I need. So I'll push this button to copy and paste it into Warp. And I think this looks right.
Yeah, it looks like the right information, but it's also kind of hard to tell what we're looking at, right?
Yeah, I'm a visual learner myself. So normally what I would do is I'd figure out how to get this into a spreadsheet, make a chart there, and then find that spreadsheet again in 3 years. But instead, I'm just going to ask for one. So make a bar graph with all of the results. Why not? Make it holiday themed.
Great idea.
And awesome. So this is going to show off what I think is the coolest part about working with apps, which is that it works with all of the other features and all of the other models in ChatGPT. So in this case, 4.0 decided to use advanced data analysis to crunch some numbers and give me back a bar graph. And what that means, if you really think about it, is that when we build features like advanced data analysis and bring them to ChatGPT, it's kind of like we're bringing them to every app that ChatGPT works with.
Yeah. That's great. So while it thinks about this, do you want to talk a little bit about what the model is actually seeing? Is it just what we see on the screen, or is it something more?
Great question. So an easy way to do this would be to just grab a screenshot and let Vision do the rest. But we actually can reach into the application to grab off-screen content as well. And so these results will contain everything here, not just what you see on screen.
Yeah. Well, it's thinking hard about this. It might be the holiday-themed part.
I know. Oh, OK.
There it is.
Perfect. All right. I mean, that looks pretty holiday themed to me. What do you think, John?
It's holiday themed. I don't know if it's as holiday themed as we are in these suits, but it's not bad.
Literally nothing is as holiday themed as you are.
Yeah.
Perfect. But I'd say it's good enough. So I'm just going to download this, and now I can share it with a teammate. But with that, I'm going to hand it back to John to talk a bit more about programming.
Great. So I think that the use case that Justin showed is really important and useful to be able to interact with a terminal. But I want to show what it's like to interact with code in an IDE. So I have Xcode open here, which is my IDE of choice. And it's running a sample app that is actually a little bit of a peek behind the scenes into how this Work with Apps feature works. The sample app uses the macOS accessibility APIs to look at Xcode and tell us some things about what's on the screen. So it's telling us that there's a text field with these dimensions. it tells us that it has 37 lines, and we can go down and check that.
Looks right to
37 lines, yep, and it shows us the content of the text field.
And we actually use this to make the feature, right?
That's right. Yeah, this is a useful sample app for us, for sure. So this is nice, but it doesn't do any live updating. So I'm going to use ChatGPT to help add that feature. I'm going to bring up the chat bar with a very similar shortcut to what Justin showed earlier, but with a slight change. I'm going to use Option-Shift-1. And what that does is it brings up the chat bar with Xcode automatically paired to it, Xcode being the topmost app that is open that we support with this feature.
It makes it super quick to start working with an app.
Yeah, it's great. And you get this immediate feedback that it sees Xcode here.
Works with apps,
so these accessibility APIs are a little bit inscrutable, definitely hard to remember how to use, and pretty complicated, actually.
Is
so
this
I'm
any
gonna
different
use the
than
model selector
what was
here, and I'm going to
already
switch
available
this to
for work
O1.
with apps?
O1
on the
is
Mac
one of
OS
our
desktop version?
newer models here at
'cause
OpenAI,
they-
and it does a great job thinking about
She
these
rolled it out with
difficult coding
Xcode,
problems.
Terminal,
And
VS
I should
Code.
mention as well that
I don't know about GitHub,
this
but I was
feature
using
is
it for
also
VS
available
Code.
with
I was
O1
using it
Pro
for
if
Terminal.
you really want to throw the deep end
I don't
problems
use
at it,
Word.
right?
Model.
Yeah.
But did you see
All right,
Notion
so
there?
let's give it a prompt here. I'm
Yep.
going to say
that's-
add an
okay.
observer.
So I
So-
saw Notion.
Yeah. So if
But the
selection
functionality, the demo that they're
changes,
doing right now,
load
is that any
text
different? I thought that's
areas
how works
is
with
called.
apps worked.
And
That's how
we'll
it
kick
works
off
with
this
apps,
request
Okay.
to the model.
So,
So O1 is
I
one of
don't
our
think
chain
this
of
is-
thought
this
models,
is
and you can
agentic,
see
but
that
this
it's
is not.
thinking
I
about
don't
this
think this
issue. It's
is
going to tell us some of the
operator
steps that it
or
goes
oh
through
no,
as
yeah,
it considers.
it's definitely not
Wow, that
operator.
was a pretty fast response
They
from it.
Didn't
clarified
think too
right
hard
at the
on that
very
one, I guess.
opening
I guess
that this
not.
wasn't
You
going
gotta
to
give
be
it a harder prompt
operator.
next time.
They said,
Yeah,
oh yeah,
wow.
we'll give you those
All right,
features
so it's generating
in
some
2025.
code, and
But
you
the
know, I
thing
have a
that
fair
threw
amount
me is
of,
it just seems
of
like they added a
trust in
couple more
O1's code here.
apps
So as
to
soon as
work
it's
with
finished
apps.
generating, I'm just going to
That's
copy
what
this
I
into
have seen so
Xcode,
far.
and we're
I
going to
haven't
run it
seen
and see
anything
what
like-
happens.
I don't see anything that could go wrong with
Maybe
that.
it's more functions.
demos,
Possibly go wrong.
yeah, live demos
But they went
work
to code
100%
first.
of the
I'm
time.
actually
It
interested
was
to see.
one of the rules of the
Because
universe. All right, so I've
could
copied that
use
code,
this,
and
but
I'm
you
pasting
probably
it
wanna use
directly
GitHub
into Xcode.
or VS
I'm going to take a
Code
quick scroll
cursor
through it to see if it's finding
instead,
any
so it
issues.
doesn't really matter.
Right now, it's looking pretty promising.
All right.
So let's run this and see what happens.
Right.
You
What's
know,
the
it would be
advantage of
really
doing
cool
it
if you
in
didn't have to copy and
ChatGPT
paste that back into
rather
Xcode,
than
though.
using a
That
model?
would be cool. And
and the
you know,
other
people have been
program
suggesting that.
that
Should
is
I build that?
You should definitely build that.
So
All right, PM
that would-
approved.
Great.
So let's
All right.
see if they have anything
So
else.
it's running again. Let's take a look. If I select content, oh no, it didn't work like we thought.
Okay.
Should we give it one more shot?
Yeah. Why don't we
Yeah.
ask? Yeah.
All right. So I think I'm actually just going to go back to our previous
What did they-
state since I don't have a specific.
I can't remember when
error
they
Set it up.
used this.
Let's
function.
try to discard the changes.
All right.
So
Give it
was
one more
this
shot.
Yeah, one more shot.
Yeah.
And while it's working, we can talk about some more of the features here. Okay,
No,
add
give
an
us the applications
observer.
that it's connected to, not the
So
features.
if selection changes, load
Yeah, I
text
guess my point or my
areas
question
is
was
called.
this is already
Again.
what they promised to
All right,
do
maybe it
with
didn't
what
think hard
works
enough
with
on that.
apps
We'll
is
try
supposed
again.
to do.
Got
It just seems like they added
well,
warp
things about
and
this. I should mention
Notion
that I'm
and things
using
like
Xcode.
that.
Like I said, this is my
yeah.
IDE of
I
choice
don't-
when working with Swift.
Yeah.
I don't
But
see
we
anything
do
new
support a
features.
whole bunch of
Perhaps
other
because they didn't
IDEs.
really talk about
That
works
means
with apps
VS
when they
Code,
announced it.
the
They just said,
JetBrains
"Oh, here's this
ecosystem,
thing.
which
It's
includes
supposed to do
Visual
this."
Send a blog
Studio and
post, that
PyCharm,
was it
Ruby
kinda
Mine,
deal?
things like
Maybe
that.
a video? I
Some
don't know.
really standby Mac apps like TextMate and BB Edit. So we've got a whole lot of different support here.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm actually
for
unreasonably
coding, I would
excited
use
for
this,
MATLAB
but for other
support.
people,
I would have
they
totally
wouldn't
used
use
that
this.
in college.
Like this would not be
MATLAB
of any
is
interest
another
to
exciting one. I
anybody
think some
who's not
students
coding.
are really going to find that useful.
Gwen
Okay.
has already
It's,
joined that. team.
it is still generating some code. There it goes. It's done.
Right,
I'm going to use
alright.
this copy button again. And again, with full trust
as
that
has
everything is
Justin.
going to work, I'm going to
I guess
paste
now
it
we know
in.
what could go wrong, though, right?
Yeah, sure. All right, so let's run this again and see if we have slightly better luck. Okay,
Build
it's
succeed.
running. Hey, look at
there
that.
it
If I
is.
select
All right.
things, it changes. Wow, it's a holiday miracle.
You get the incantation to the demo gods right the second time.
Exactly.
Again,
yeah, exactly.
only for
Awesome.
developers.
So we've been talking a lot about coding today, right? But another thing that I love to use ChatGPT for is helping me with my writing. And I know I'm not alone here. And so that's why today we're announcing support for 3 new applications: Apple Notes, Notion, and Quip. We think this is going to open up a brand new set of use cases
Apple Notes
for working
useless,
with apps, and
Quip
so we can't wait
useless.
to see what you all do with it.
Notion.
With that, John, Kevin, you already know this, but for the rest of you, I give walking history tours in San Francisco outside of work. Big history
I thought
buff.
they were
San
going to
Francisco's
release
got a
the
great
task
story to tell,
function
and I'm actually
that
working on a brand new
was
walking
talking
tour.
about, where
And so why
you
don't we
can
try out this
schedule
feature?
things
Help me
like
out
that
with that.
automation feature. I think
Great.
with Jawbone that they're
here
talking about.
I
I
have
don't
a
think I saw
Notion
that.
document open on my computer.
So
I always
maybe
write
that's
my
not
tours in
ready.
Notion. And this is actually a real walking tour that I'm working on. So I hope you all find it interesting. But I'm actually working on a new stop for my favorite character in San Francisco history, Emperor Norton.
Well, if they are
I know
releasing
some
that, it would
high-level
be
talking
very
points. He was
OpenAI
the
to like
self-proclaimed
add it
emperor of the United States and
slightly at the
protector
end
of
of this
Mexico,
long coding discussion.
who lived in San Francisco in the
The thing that could
1800s.
be useful for most of the
And
people.
he even made his own currency that was actually valid in the city for a while.
That's
So-
something you can just do?
Yeah, apparently you can. And I think it's going to make for a great tour stop.
All right.
But I'm a little bit fuzzy on the details, and so I'm going to use ChatGPT to help me out. One option would be to copy and paste these bullets over, and I think Chat would do a pretty good job at going with that. But it would be helpful if it had context of the entire document, right? And so instead, I'm going to have ChatGPT work directly with Notion. So I'm going to hit Option Space to bring up ChatGPT, have it work with Notion, and I'm actually going to go ahead and just highlight the stop here so that the model knows what to pay attention to. And so now we can see we're working with Notion in the walking tour document, focused on selected lines. And I'm just going to go ahead and say, fill out these talking points. Right? Don't need to be any more specific than that. But one thing that is really important is that this is a walking tour, right? This is a history tour. Things need to be factually correct. And so to help with that,
So
I'm going to
let's
push this
compare
button to turn
the
on search.
two
And now,
approaches.
to answer my question,
Anthropic
ChatGPT is going to
creates
search the
MCP,
web, and everything it tells
which
me is going to
is
be
a
grounded in
standardization that
citations,
everyone
right?
can
And so
build
anything I want to
from
find
to
out more about,
interlink
I can go
these,
ahead and click the links,
applications,
and
these
you really
services.
start to see this awesome interaction
OpenAI
pop
does
up
with
where
works with
ChatGPT
apps,
is helping me with my
and they
research in
just
the
add
context
the
of
apps
the document I'm writing.
as they see fit.
So awesome. Now, this
So
looks like all
is that
the
a matter
stuff
of
that I'm hoping to
control,
cover.
or is
And
that a
so
matter of
it doesn't really sound like me, though. This sounds like
which
official
is there
results. And so
is
I'm
there
going to turn off
positives
search
to
and just say,
either
make it
method
match
over the
the
other?
style
I'm
Well,
leaning
what
towards
they're doing
Anthropic.
here is actually useful in terms of
the rest
internet
of the
research,
stops.
because
Keep it
I
short,
use Notion a
2
lot,
paragraphs.
and
And now
I
ChatGPT is
still
going to
have
go
to
out and read the
do
rest of my
stuff,
document,
research.
learn
So to
how
have
I
it
talk
right in
and how I've
here
written the rest
is
of these,
actually
and do its best
pretty
to imitate
useful.
that.
Mind
And
you, just
so,
for my use
awesome.
case.
This is great. Let me introduce
Oh
you to
no,
one
no,
of San Francisco's
I
most
agree with
beloved
you. I think
characters.
that is a positive.
You'll
the
have
fact
to come
that
to the
it's
tour to find
integrated,
out the rest.
right?
Sounds like
I
you.
don't like the idea
So I'm
that
just going to
they're
go
just going
ahead
to add
and highlight
apps
this to
on
copy
their
and
own
paste it back
schedule,
into
as
Notion.
opposed
And
to
of course, I want to iterate from
let's
here.
say
I
they
want to
didn't add
refine this.
Notion.
But that's just a
Couldn't a
quick
Notion
example of
developer
using ChatGPT to work with
build
Notion.
out if they had a standard?
That's awesome. I
Otherwise,
think that it's
we
really
have to wait
compelling
for
to work with
OpenAI
your
to-
documents like this, not just code like I showed before, but your written prose. This is excellent, but it's just one way to work with the model, this sort of text in, text out method. And what I'd like to introduce today is support to use advanced voice mode with this feature.
Bingo.
We're really excited about this. We think that this paradigm
Not
is
what
a
I
really
thought.
interesting way to talk with ChatGPT and get insight into your documents or your code for that matter. All right, so we're going to show one of mine in a second here. When I'm not at OpenAI, I spend a lot of time as a professional saxophone player, and I've got this holiday party set list that I'd like some input on. I think ChatGPT would be great about this, but again, I want to use the voice to do this.
Is this why your holiday parties are all so good, by the way?
No, that's a different thing.
Okay,
Yeah,
got it.
okay.
Is it the suits?
Yeah, the suits help for sure. Yeah. All right. So yeah, I want someone special to really help out with this. So let's bring up ChatGPT again with the shortcut that I mentioned earlier, which is Option-Shift-1. And that brings up our chat bar. It's automatically paired with notes. But this time, instead of typing to the model, I'm going to use this new advanced voice mode support. So I'll use this icon in the bottom right to bring in our special guest.
Great.
Hey, Santa, are you there?
Ho, 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 ho. Yes, I'm here. How can I help you today?
Santa, it is so great to talk to you. Listen, I've got this holiday set list that I'm working on, and I've got a couple songs that I'm just not sure about. This one, I've got My Love to Keep Me Warm. I honestly don't really know that song very well. Can you recommend something else?
Ho, ho. How about replacing I've Got My Love to Keep Me Warm with Frosty the Snowman?
Oh, that's a good idea. Let's see. The Snowman. Did I get that right?
Ho, ho, ho. Not quite.
Oh, keep going.
Oh. Sure thing. So is there anything else you'd like to know about your holiday set list?
I think Santa was bored with the copy editing, but we can move on. Let's talk about the last song of the second set, Auld Lang Syne. I mean, that's a little bit dreary. I'm hoping for something more energetic to really get you and the elves dancing. What do you think? What should I replace it with?
Ho, ho! Deck the Halls would be a perfect replacement. It's jolly, festive, and sure to get everyone dancing. Ho, ho, ho!
Santa, I think that's a great idea. I think that song's really gonna slay.
Oh, darn. I thought that it would be able to write
I think,
for you.
you know, interacting
That's
with
what I was
the
looking
voice
for.
model like this is such
I
a
was
great way
waiting.
to
I was
talk to
waiting
your
for that.
documents and get live feedback on what you're doing.
Totally. And good news, right before we stepped on this live stream, actually, we pushed the button to ship all of the features we just showed off. So they should be available for you on your computer. Just make sure that you are updated to the latest ChatGPT app for macOS.
Awesome. So that's day 11. It's about using the desktop apps to see, understand, and automate the work that you're doing with ChatGPT. This is available today as of, 20 minutes ago on our Mac desktop apps, coming soon to Windows. I love the desktop apps. They're in the background when you're doing work, and then it's a keyboard shortcut, and they're right there and able to help you do whatever you're working on. So that's day 11. We have 1 day left. We'll be coming to you tomorrow morning, day 12. We got something super exciting, so don't miss it.
Yeah, we can't wait to get these features out to you. We're really excited. But in the meantime, I've got to start practicing this
You've got a set list
stuff
to learn.
that Santa recommended. All right,
Oh, yes,
let's see.
saxophone. Yes. Yes. As someone who played the tenor sax, that relates to me.
I'm
That's
impressed.
just
I'm impressed.
that. I love that because I played that. That was
I used to play the alto. My nephew just started playing the alto sax. That was fun. That was the best closer.
That was the best closer out of all of them.
Impressive.
Out of
Yeah,
all of them.
I've long ago played clarinet, oboe, and flute. So just the Bohm system instruments. But I've never touched the sax. I never could, make the transition and get a good sound out of it. So I'm very impressed by that guy.
All right. So my understanding is that this is only on the Mac desktop, right? Windows desktop. This doesn't have any tool integration yet, does it? I should know because it's open on my system. But so if you're on a Mac, you now have new programs that you can interact with. 3 new ones, right? That was the essence of the announcement today.
Apple Notes, and Notion, and Quibi.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
Quibi,
Warp was already, like on the code side, that was already there.
No, that's
you
new. They said that was the first, the most requested app to add.
Did you see though on I forgot his name. He had 26. I don't know if you saw that when it popped up. He had 26 apps there. It said 26.
Oh.
So I saw it, and so I think we know those 3 for sure. But there's 26 more that's in there. I saw that, and I was looking at that, and I thought they were going to display all of them, but I think over the next whatever many weeks, months, those 26 and more are probably going to come in. Like
Right.
I was like,
hey,
Well, that's
the
good.
first thing I
they
saw.
release enough fast enough, then I suppose that quells my concern.
But I really wanted it to
But
talk and Santa
yes,
actually write it down. That would have been.
yes.
I was like,
That's what I wanted to see. Once
that's what I want. Yes.
Advanced voice they mentioned.
Yeah. To actually control. But that's the thing is, if you are able to do that, could you then you could voice control Notion and you just talk through it like, hey, could you write this? I want this and this, do this and this. That's what I was looking for. I didn't think that didn't happen.
No, it's not quite there yet. But they did tease in the very, very beginning that we will be getting more agentic stuff in the rest of 2025.
In 24,
But
yeah.
Isn't it so wild that doesn't exist? Right? We have all our lady wiretaps, depending on the flavor that you want, right?
Yeah.
We have a voice interaction with these tools, but still no one has actually like hit the target of what we all want.
Exist. I bet you it does exist. It's just we don't have existing. I bet you they have it. Like just the 26 that you've seen. It's like, okay, the 26 apps, we've seen that. You can say it to Notion and he's still typing. I was like, it's impossible that you can't do that. It like I can imagine somewhere deep in those labs, like, yeah, we can do that. Just maybe red teamed or something.
It feels like it hasn't really moved forward since like Dragon Naturally Speaking, right? Or like Cortana became that, but again, like it's there's I want the ease that I have by saying set a timer or like add this to my calendar with interacting with my computer. And yes, I know I have Microsoft Power Tools and I can Power Automate, but I don't want to. Right?
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this comes back to what I was saying is like, use what exists, just have the connection. And I think Jen or Gwen mentioned that earlier was, yes, like as soon as they said, oh yeah, we copy paste for all the time, right? And I was like, oh, are you adding those ingrained features? Because it's funny you mentioned dictation because Mac OS has had dictation built in for a long time. Right, it might be a simple version of it, but let's just connect those. Let's turn those things on. But yeah, Carl, when you had mentioned, is this going to be the thing? Is Santa going to write in the Notion document?
I was waiting for that.
Is it going to happen? And then
he didn't.
You could see he went over to the X. You could see the mouse just go over to the X before they cut the camera, and I was like, nah, they're not going to do it. Nuts.
No.
But I did want to take a second and bring up CJ's comment. CJ did some testing with 1-800-CHAT-GPT and had a three-way call going on with was it you CJ and his friend or their friend and ChatGPT. So CJ, tell us more about that.
Yeah,
I'm really interested. And then there was a follow-up about like how much what was your next testing? Sorry, I caught it as
my next test is how many people can merge into one call.
Oh yeah.
Wonder
remember
if two
party lines?
AI, two humans.
Yeah. I remember party lines where you could have like a dozen people all talking on the phone at the same time. That was crazy. But I don't know if we necessarily need to go back to those days.
But the other news that CJ broke, at least for me earlier, was that there we go. Yesterday, great three-way calling. But the time limit. So when we looked it up, it sounded like the time limit was that it could hold the context for an hour. But the current limitation seems to be smaller than an hour, right?
I read while looking at the feature on the desktop, I read that there's a limit of 15 minutes of talk time. Now, that may be for the free tier. It may be that it's much more for someone who has a Plus subscription.
Yep. And that was, there we go, CJ. He talked for 10 minutes. They talked for 10 minutes, sorry. and only 5 more monthly minutes. So that's really important to know. Yeah, and it would be really nice if it was monthly calendar, but that's not how OpenAI works with their stuff. So month may be 30 days from when you did it.
So this sets up everything then for tomorrow. Like that's the expectation is pretty big now.
So
for
operator?
Tomorrow. No, I think the
4.5.
4.5.
4.5. There is no. I think the expectation for everybody now is like 4.5. One, I don't think it's a Microsoft ad because that would be the most.
That would be the worst. I think they're a little
people
more
would be so pissed.
than a Microsoft ad. I'll give you that.
If Satya is on and it's like, I'm not watching this. Actually, good for us because we can have stupid comments. I love stupid comments. Love it. Love it.
Sure.
I don't think it'll be operator. It wouldn't make any sense to have this and then tomorrow it's operator. If it's DALL-E, Beth, I will again. I'll be like,
you know
very
what?
disappointed.
I'm almost rooting for DALL-E, just because it would just be subversive. No one thinks it's DALL-E now. Yeah. I'd be like, oh, here's DALL-E 4.
Yeah,
it's like,
I mean, they did it in the, like. If it's DALL-E, they did it in the wrong order.
Oh, absolutely.
They should have released DALL-E at Sora and then Sora tomorrow, right? Because then that could have been a trajectory that makes sense. But you don't release Sora and then here's DALL-E.
Although the what's his name, Bob something, when I was listening to the unsupervised podcast, he did mention it. He did mention 5 GPT something 4.55. He mentioned it in that podcast saying, so for those who didn't listen, it's unsupervised learning by Redpoint Ventures. So they had Bob McGrew, who was the ex OpenAI chief something. Anyway, so he was saying how O1 is supposed to be GPT-5, like that, the compute and the thing that they built. Definitely go and listen to it.
Okay.
Very worth listening, because that gives you an insight on what specifically O1 is supposed to be and how it's supposed to solve and do all that stuff. And that's why when he was saying how like that level of training now and time to compute, that is the next that's the next level that they were looking at. So
okay, if it is,
and Mike is referencing this too, right? An intelligent computer use model with memory is possible with O1, and that is like, yes, we're with you 100% moving forward with that.
All right. Yeah. So what do you think? Okay, let's assume the premise is 4.5 or a new model comes out tomorrow. Yeah. How do you think they're going to implement? Is it just going to be, for our Plus and Pro users, you get 50 access? Is it something that's chosen, like where
I feel this is like their Christmas present is that everyone gets 4.5. Everyone does. It's my thing. And then, because I remember, if you take everything into account, so Noah Brown, again, interview on unsupervised learning, amazing show too, because he mentioned it. Because eventually they want to merge O1 models with GPT models to combine them together to do everything, but right now they can't. Just by what I was listening today, so O1 represents a new generation of model with 100 times compute increase over GPT-4 because of the reinforcement learning, and their reinforcement learning training, which is the reasoning training that they do, is actually, it has increased that compute power, and the test time compute is the new technique that doesn't require all the new data centers. That's like the whole thing is the pre-training and all that. As it gets bigger, that's what it needs. But this new level, that's what he was saying, is like that doesn't require. So the focus for them before he left was for 2025, the test time compute and scaling of those techniques is what the focus is on. And then the chatbot limitations in O1 is designed to solve that. And then the pessimistic view of progress is because it's the requirement for all the resources, and that's why O1 is supposed to be the answer to that. The required he was saying how like from demo it usually takes a year for it to be usable, and then from
demo to who?
Like if you see a demo, like for example Sora, that he didn't mention that, but like demo to, and I don't know what he meant by demo, demo to people or demo internally, that didn't say that. Demo, it takes a year to actually be usable, and then another year for it to be actually like, I don't know if it's scalable or actually like even more not usable, but like something that you would just do for everyday life. So that's what he was saying. It's like what people don't understand is that level. So he was saying how like the outside perspective versus the perspective from internal, the lab is very different, and that's where you're getting the expectations are way different. And so like if people are like, why aren't you releasing stuff, like he's like, that doesn't make any sense because there is a timeline, and then what they're trying to solve for is, you know, because O1, there's new problems that come up when you have a new thing like this, and they have to solve for them. So the expectation, but I think it's also that we've been expected by all these releases, it's moving. But so they're going back to your point about like, hey, when will we get on this stuff? It's like I think he goes back to Sam Altman said, we want to get it into people's hands so they can learn and use it versus, and again, back to the whole, no one knows what you can actually use these things. They just come out with it, and then we're the ones who are going to go out and execute and all that kind of stuff. So it was a worth listening to that. Oh, he's
a much more effective alpha test, right? Not
it
full
is
alpha, but
it is.
like,
yeah, rather than them testing it, because I remember when GPT-4 came out, Sam Altman did say we could just sit here and allow people in Silicon Valley to test this and then put it out. But he's like, that's not the point. So the point is, and I noticed this too, if you listen, everything comes out to Plus, Teams, and now Pro, but it's going to come to education and enterprise level, whenever, like a month after. In Google's terms, whenever I worked with them, whenever I talk to their product team, Google has given access to companies first and then release after the fact. So it's two different things that you're looking at.
Salesforce releases to partners first too. But I think maybe Google and Salesforce don't see their partners quite as the same like beta tester level. Like, here you go. What I'm worried is that we're going to get like all this cool stuff tomorrow, and it will be then said, and we will be releasing it over the next several weeks, right? Because then we're all like, do we have it today? Do we have it today? Did you update your app?
Can you please press the button? Can you press the button? That thing that you did, which I don't believe you did. I don't know what you did, but you pressed the button that deployed it. And I was like, that doesn't work that way. But he did. He was pressing a button. I was like, he probably pressed Command V and he copied like a picture on his screen. I don't know what that is, but it's really.
How in the bubble
they could totally deploy like that. But just to clarify for everybody, if it is the new model, Carl, everybody, you all think that it'll just replace 4.0 or 4.0 and just be the new base model? Is that the idea?
That's what I believe. I believe it because there's this guy I follow, Arc blah 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 Flax. He's a red teamer for these models, and he's been like pretty bang on. And he goes, in those 12 days, AVM will be released, advanced voice mode, like full on or whatever vision. That's the thing. And then GPT 4 or 5, that'd be the piece.
Okay. So, well, to help everybody get what they desire for tomorrow, I'm terrible about being spot on for predictions. So I'm going to say it's DALL-E 4 and it's going to be the best image creator ever. And it can't be anything else.
Excellent.
Right,
So
there
that
you go.
means we're totally getting something else. or like in addition.
You know, it'd be awesome if they released 1-800 ChatGPT at the end. That'd been like the greatest troll ever. That would have been fantastic. Like Sam's there, and he's just like, "Remember, call now, 1-800 ChatGPT." Right. That would have been just.
You're just asking for like really flamey messages,
just
right?
so mad, just so mad.
Just troll everybody. Yeah, no, it would be funny though.
It would.
So I am a real skeptic about DALL-E being featured at the very last day, because I think DALL-E is. I mean, what could they possibly demonstrate from DALL-E that would overcome the amazing advances that have already surpassed Sora, which they have released in the 12 days. So I just don't see that happening. I believe it could be a new model, but I'm skeptical about that because why haven't we seen some mysterious super performing model in the arena? Right?
I think
generally when a new model is going to be released, it does appear in a mystical way, but maybe they're holding off on that because of the 12 days release cycle and the expectation that they're not going to provide any preview in a way in the arena, and therefore it's going to be announced tomorrow. And if it is a new model, let me say that final thing, if it is a new model, I'm hoping, and I believe it could be the first model that's generally available that runs on test time compute, which is really in effect allowing you to fine tune the model in the course of the interaction with the model. It's changing its weights intra-session. Okay, so then at the end of the session, it goes back to its base model parameters. But test time compute means that it can learn in context. It does in context learning and adjusts weights for that, which may advance its reasoning capabilities around those things. So that's my just really off the cuff impression of what a new model might represent.
Nice. I think personally, I think there has to be some reference to tasks because the page existed, right? The page existed. There are screenshots of it. I tried to go to it last night and it defaulted to internal internal ChatGPT. And when I go to it today, it's a 404 error. So they did something with chatgpt.com/tasks as a landing site. Also, we've been talking about Tibor,
yeah.
This is the AGI Easter egg today. It has been identified, and they were also the one that was showing the tasks page. So yes, there's lots of Google fans in the conversation about that because Google is better. But that's my other thought in this. Is like, I'm not sure that for me, ChatGPT can overcome the Gemini integration with Google Docs, right? I mean, it's like, I'm not a Notion fan, but also there's so much more functionality and native functionality within Google Docs. And when Gemini becomes reliable, I think they just have so much they just have such a wide integration.
I think the problem with Google when I was using Gemini to connect with my Google Docs, it is pretty apparent. It's like right there. There's a disclaimer saying, if you do this, your data is now like open. Not that it wasn't open before, but now we're just gonna be blatant about it. It's like, we're gonna go in and train against your data now.
Not in workspace data.
Not in workspace beta, but like if you were just a regular Gemini user that paid, they're gonna use it. So that's the thing. That's the that'd be. I'm still disappointed, Jyunmi, about that Samta. If Samta wrote with stupid emojis, that would have been like, that's it. That's what we're looking for.
Well, because that's all we need is that's the component that people can run with, right?
Yes.
You make it a request, it did a thing. I was like, oh, yeah,
okay,
that would be awesome.
It's like now it's but the thing is, why would Notion would that API require something different? Because that requires an action, right? That's no longer just an API call. Like, would an API call allow that to occur?
I think so, because there is some automation you can do with Notion previous to any AI integration, because the Notion pages are just a really condensed and standardized format, so that you can just write to it, add a page, add a line, so you can send all those commands through the API. What will be interesting, though, is will this spark off additional APIs or AI APIs or an expansion of the API set? So these applications can say, oh, we want more computer use options through the API, right, for our service.
Yeah.
So that might be an interesting change to come out of this.
Okay. I am showing tasks because I've talked about them, and I don't want people to think I'm making it up.
Nope.
This was the screenshot.
That was a screenshot. Yeah. If anyone looks up Tibor Blaho on X, he'll have that.
Yep. Yeah. And you can see that it's basically natural language, like in some ways, cron jobs, right? Like reminders, like summarize. Actually, we would love a summarized AI news every week, preferably sometime Tuesday, so that we can do our daily AI show news roundup on Wednesdays. All right, so I am seeing the time. Do we want to do final roundup? Last impressions?
Okay. Impressions of today's announcement. The first half seemed to be just, hey, you can code in the Mac desktop version. We already knew that. We didn't see anything new. The new things were we added some more apps, and Carl's eagle eyes pointed out that there could be possibly 26 apps in that list, which sounds hopeful. And but the big news is we're looking for those agentic features that they kind of caveated in the beginning to roll out hopefully in 2025. And perhaps we can then see Samta add a line of text to our Notion document via advanced voice. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then hopefully tomorrow will be DALL-E 4, where you have full control of every object, text, the ability to manipulate it just by advanced voice. You can, and pretty much everything else that Home Hub said in the chat. I want to be able to change every aspect of the image just through voice, have it consistent, create characters, narratives, the whole nine, and then and then integrate it within Canva, or sorry, Canvas.
Thanks.
Yeah. So again, it can't be anything other than DALL-E 4.
Yep.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We're back tomorrow at 10 a.m. For a regular show, which will be a recap of the last 2 weeks. And damn, there's a lot. And then we're back tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern also for our final day. Hope you can join us. And thanks till then.
Thank you.
Aloha.